freedom, government, and the human future. You can adjust the language according to your preference. Choose the program that suits your needs from the playlist. Customize the subtitle position on your laptop, and adjust the video speed with the slider to suit your needs and comfort. Let's grow together through your subscribe and like on this video.
On a cold Friday morning, a former governor stood in front of the government building. He looked forward, not back. He had made mistakes, he had hurt people, but today he came to forgive and to ask for forgiveness. This isn't just a story about one person. It's a story about all of us, about our shared journey toward a better future. It's about understanding that freedom is not free. It is formed through struggle. It is founded on sacrifice. It is framed by law, but it is fueled by courage. This journey, the path of a free society, is never easy. It's often filled with detours and setbacks, but fortunately, history shows us, time and time again, that every generation has the power to reform the future. We hold the pen, and the next chapter is ours to write. I remember a time 14 years ago when this nation faced a frightening crisis. The economy seemed to freeze overnight. Gas prices skyrocketed, and families could hardly afford to heat their homes. Fear was a palpable thing. It spread from the front gate of the city to the smallest household. A friend once told me something that has stuck with me ever since. He said, "A nation does not fall because of fear. It falls when it forgets its freedom." That sentence changed my life. It made me realize that our greatest strength isn't our economy or our military, but our commitment to the ideals of liberty. Government is not just a building of stone and steel. It is a function. It exists for one primary purpose: to serve the public good. But history has taught us a harsh lesson. When power grows without limits, freedom begins to freeze. In the fourth decade of our democracy, we learned something fundamental about governance. We learned that governing requires honesty, not ego. A government that stops listening to its people will eventually face a massive gap between its leaders and its citizens. 40 lawmakers once stood in this very hall. Some were generous, some were guilty. Some were honest, some were not. This is the human reality of governance. We must never forget that politics is not a game. It's not like golf or hockey. It is not fun when people's lives are at stake. It's about real human beings, with real hopes and real struggles. When we talk about policy, we're talking about the fabric of people's lives. We're talking about whether a family can afford their mortgage, whether a child gets a good education, whether a senior citizen can receive the care they need. Economic growth can be impressive on paper. Industry can generate incredible wealth, and income levels can rise. But growth without values becomes harmful. It becomes a force of destruction. We see factories burning fuel around the clock, cities expanding into a concrete sprawl, and highways stretching for hundreds and hundreds of miles. However, if this development ignores public health and the environment, it creates a legacy of illness and infection. We import goods from across the globe. We export grain to feed the world. We hunt for profit in every corner of the market. And in the process, we fry the planet. The most important question is not how fast we grow. The question is how we grow. Are we building a future that is sustainable, equitable, and just? Or are we just building a taller, more fragile tower that is destined to fall? Every individual has an identity. Every immigrant who arrives on our shores carries a story. Every family carries hope for a better life. A just government must protect individual rights, regardless of whether a person is rich or poor, whether they are a former citizen or a fresh arrival. This is the essence of democracy. It means that even a small group has a voice. It means no gang can control the state. It means no gun decides the course of justice. Freedom is not a hollow, abstract concept. It is real. It is grounded in law. It is guarded by institutions that we must protect. When we fail to do so, the consequences are immediate and personal. Politics is not abstract. It touches our households every single day. It affects our grandparents, our husbands, our girlfriends, and our children. When healthcare funding is cut, hospitals suffer and people can't get the treatment they need. When housing policy fails, families are hurt and communities are destabilized. A leader must be grateful for the public trust that has been placed in them. They must guide with a gentle hand, not a heavy fist. Leadership is not about personal fortune or gaining power for its own sake. It is, and must always be, about public service. It's about waking up every day and asking, how can I make life better for the people I serve? That is the only measure of leadership that truly matters. The media plays a powerful role in our society. It can highlight the truth and hold power accountable, but it can also frighten the public and sow division. A single headline can generate widespread panic. We know that fear spreads quickly, like a virus. It impacts our markets. It influences our elections. It frames our very perception of reality. But a healthy democracy requires critical thinking. It requires citizens who actively gather information, who are willing to hear different voices, who can handle disagreement without resorting to violence. We must be consumers of information, not just passive recipients. We have to question, to analyze, and to seek out the truth for ourselves, because our democracy depends on it. The future of our nation rests on the shoulders of our young people. When I see students in the gym, musicians with a guitar, or volunteers in the community garden, I don't just see individuals. I see a new generation that represents hope. They are the engine of change. Reform does not happen immediately. It's not a single event. It happens gradually, step by step. It requires hard work. It requires discipline and healthy habits, both for individuals and for a nation as a whole. A nation that values education will inevitably improve. A nation that honors diversity will grow stronger and more resilient. That is the path forward. Democracy is a paradox. It is fragile, yet powerful. It can freeze in the face of fear and division, but it can also rise again, stronger than before. The future is not guaranteed. It's not written in the stars. It must be built, brick, by each and every one of us. We must move forward together, not with hate, not with fear, but with courage. We must choose hope over despair, unity over division, and progress over stagnation, because the story of freedom is still being written, and we are the authors. What will we write in our chapter? The choice is ours. Thank you for listening. Power is a heavy burden, not a shiny crown. It demands care, precision, and a deep respect for the people it serves. Think about it. A governor isn't a king. They don't rule by decree. They govern under the law. Their fundamental job is to guarantee justice for everyone, not to impose fear. History is filled with pivotal moments where leaders stood at a crossroads, facing impossible decisions. Some showed incredible courage. Others were paralyzed by fear, and some just hesitated, unsure of the path forward. The true measure of leadership isn't about how tall someone stands or how loud they shout. It's measured in something much quieter, much stronger: integrity. When politicians start chasing power for personal gain, for wealth, or for fame, the very foundations of our system begin to crack. But the opposite is also true. When leaders act in good faith, with the public's best interest at heart, our institutions grow stronger, more resilient. Democracy isn't a game of control. It's a delicate balancing act. It's about ensuring that no single person or group becomes too powerful. Policies aren't just abstract documents collecting dust in an office. They have real-world consequences. They show up in your grocery bill, your gas receipt, and the bottom line of your household budget. When a politician decides to cut funding, it's not just numbers on a spreadsheet. It means public services like schools, libraries, and sanitation struggle to keep their doors open and serve the community. When healthcare is neglected, illness spreads, affecting families and overwhelming hospitals. This is why an honest government must listen before it acts. A good leader doesn't just talk. They gather facts, consult with experts, and, most importantly, include diverse voices in the conversation. They need to hear from everyone, not just the people who agree with them. Democracy thrives on transparency. The public has a right to know what its government is doing and why. Of course, leaders are human. They make mistakes. Sometimes they make harmful choices, ignoring clear warning signs. And sometimes, tragically, they end up hurting the very people they swore an oath to protect. When that happens, accountability is not optional. It is essential. No official, no matter how high their position, is above the law. A society that values justice must be able to forgive, but it must also remember. It has to identify where things went wrong and build better, stronger systems to prevent those mistakes from happening again. Justice isn't about revenge, it's about responsibility. It's about restoring balance and trust.